If you think you can start coaching a professional team once you get the required knowledge and qualifications, then you are wrong. A good coach needs a detailed, structured training plan before getting to actual work. Let us talk a bit about coaching methods. There are three main coaching approaches or categories. Here we have analytical, integrated, and tactical periodization approaches. Let's now take a closer look at each of them. The first one is the analytical approach, which came from Eastern Europe and was initially developed only for individual sports. Here the priority was given to the physical conditioning, and all four performance components were trained in isolation from each other. As the author of this approach, Lev Matveyev, said, a complex idea can be simplified by isolating and analyzing its simplest, most basic mechanisms. That's why the approach is called analytical. The second coaching approach is called integrated, and appeared as a response to analytical approach. Nowadays, integrated approach is the most common methodology in football coaching, with more importance placed on the specificity of the game. Here physical, technical and tactical components are trained together, but the psychological component is not taken into account. Moreover, this approach has nothing to do with team's tactics and mentality. As Guilherme Oliveira says, in integrated approach, the decisions taken by players at different times are not regulated and coordinated by a common tactical language. And now we finally come to the tactical periodization approach. Tactical periodization was originated by Portuguese professor Vitor Freire and was successfully applied by such famous coaches as Jose Mourinho, Brendan Rodgers and Josep Guardiola. In this approach, the importance is placed on the specificity of team tactics, and not only on the specificity of the game. As Jose Mourinho says, any practice we do must be related to our ideas of play. In tactical periodization, the tactical component coordinates three other components, and is often called the game model. So what exactly should be included in our game model? Let's check it out. The game model includes the rules regarding players' behavior during all game phases. But you may wonder, what are the game phases? The attacking game phase is when your team is in possession of the ball. Accordingly, the defensive phase is when the opponent has possession. There are also two very important transitional phases. A transition from attack to defense when possession is lost, and a transition from defense to attack when possession is regained. So every detail of each of the game phases has to be included in our game model. The game model works like a constitution for a team, and therefore should be very detailed. Team's behavior in the game model has a hierarchical structure, and is represented by principles, sub-principles, sub-sub-principles, and so on. Let's now take a look at some examples. Imagine for the transition from defense to attack you postulate the players have to ensure possession right after winning the ball. You can specify an exception as a sub-principle by manifesting that if the situation is promising, then the player is allowed to play a risky pass after winning possession. Another sub-principle would be that other players are required to provide the support to the player who has just won the ball. And this can be done by moving closer and using communication. That all should be written in your game model. Let's have a look at how the players will implement it during the actual game. When a player wins the ball, he immediately realizes that now the priority should be given to maintain possession. At the very same time, all other players in the ball area know that they have to provide support for the first player. The latter realizes that the safest option in this context would be to simply play backward. And he does. From this point, the possession is safe. Please note that all the players know what to do during this defense to attack transitional phase, because it's written in the game model and was transmitted to them by the coach. I also want to point out that theoretically the division of principles and sub-principles is unlimited. It's up to you to decide when and where to stop. What I want to say here is that you have to write your own game model. Every football coach has its own tactical ideas, and these ideas should not only be in his head, but also explicitly included in the game model and then transmitted to the players. Okay, that's enough for now, I think. See you in a while.